Okay, this is officially going to be the last time we talk about Supergirl the movie. We've done it to death. I'm sure you read the articles. There was the Entertainment Weekly article where the screenwriter basically showed that she did not understand the work at all. Then there's the entertainment. Then there's the Hollywood Reporter article that shows they knew they had problems. They went in for reshoots. There were two cuts, a studio cut and a director's cut, and they chose the studio cut. And before you say, we should have gotten the director's cut, the director's cut was longer and had more of creme. Yeah, I don't fault the studio in this case. But anyway, this is what I'm talking about. This person, because I think this is fascinating. It's deep. They basically say, you can read the comment, and I mean it when I say do not attack this person. Seriously. This person basically says, we have different tastes. I read the original story. I didn't like the artwork. I didn't get the story. I don't need deeper meaning. It was fun. I had some action. That's all they wanted. I respect this so much because too many people refuse to admit that they don't like a perfect movie or that it's not deep or that it has meaning. Some people just want the punch punch. I just talked about how the Superman Spider-Man story lacked more punch punch. I liked all the depth and character, but I wanted some more punch punch. And again, I've seen pretty much every single Fast and the Furious movie. I was there opening weekend with my geek buddy, yeah, her. She and I would go opening night every night to see Fast and Furious. We knew what we were going to see. Okay, we just wanted that stupid. We're not pretending we wanted more, and we're not embarrassed that we didn't want more. We knew what we were going to. We knew what we wanted, and that's why I like what this person said. They wanted that. Now, I've talked about this before. You can't do deeper meaning unless you can get the basic requirements of a superhero comic, superhero story. Watchmen does not work unless there is a solid superhero story at the beginning. And that superhero story is disbanded super team comes together when one of the members is killed. If that doesn't work, the rest doesn't work. You cannot run until you walk. Okay? So you've got to get that. You've got to get that simple, basic entertainment in there before you can ascend to higher levels. So there is absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. And some people just want that. Just want that. And, we talked about the deeper meaning in Alien and Aliens. Some people just want the monster horror movie. Some people appreciate that, the whole subtext of breath of death and birth, the fact he looks into an egg, a giant sperm attaches himself to his face. He actually gives birth through his chest. The android spits milk. The computer's named mother. Some people want and appreciate and want that. Other people don't. That is fine. Same thing with aliens. I talked about this before. Aliens, James Cameron meant for the colonial marines to represent the U.S. forces in Vietnam. You don't need to know that and enjoy the movie. But again, that doesn't work unless the movie itself is good. Okay? So yeah, I do not have a problem with this person who read the original story and said, they didn't care for it because they didn't want deeper meaning and, you know, unconventional artwork. They wanted simple, pretty artwork with a punch punch. That's fine. That wasn't the story for them. That doesn't make them wrong, doesn't make them bad. Again, back to Superman Spider-Man, it needed some more punch punch. Yeah, so I do think it's imagine I pick on this movie because I think it sucks. Driver with Ryan Gosling. I think it's a pretentious piece of art crap. You want a good movie, Driver. You want the Driver with Ryan O'Neal from the '70s, true film noir, underrated classic. But I'm going to use it as an example anyway. Now imagine if someone remade that in the Fast and the Furious style, and it has a happy ending. And he's not a crazy asshole, and he's a good person, marries her, they go off to live happily ever after. Some people would enjoy that. They'd love it. They think that was great. Other people are like, what the hell? That's not what that's supposed to be. And both have their points of view. It's like, and both have their value. If you just wanted some simple entertainment, then the Fast and Furious remake of Driver is great. But if you want what it pretended to be the pretension of the first one, you're wondering, well, if you want that movie, why would you remake this one? Go do something else. And that's basically what I feel about Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. If you want the story that they put into the theaters, why adapt this work, which had something else? Another example I said in the comments, imagine someone adapting Romeo and Juliet, where Mercutio does not die, he's just wounded, and Romeo and Juliet live happily ever after. A lot of people would love that. They would love that. I, for a fact, there's a Man from Atlantis episode, I'm that old, where he goes into that world. It's real. And then he comes back and he tells the people that, I was Romeo and Juliet, and they tell him, yeah, that's a story, and they both die. He leaves the ship, goes back into the portal into the other dimension, and saves Romeo and Juliet. I love that satisfaction, but that's not the work. They weren't really adapting that work. If you want a story with happy endings and no one dies, you don't adapt Romeo and Juliet. You're fundamentally misrepresenting that work when you do it. And that's my problem, a lot of people's problem with the Supergirl movie. It is fundamentally misrepresenting the work of Supergirl World Tomorrow. Supergirl has a history going back to the 50s. You couldn't find some other story. She's had her own books. She's had another movie. She's had a TV series. She's got lots of fodder if you're willing to find something for her. But this was laziness. They just found the most popular thing they could find, and they took it, and they didn't represent it properly. It's kind of like how basically Marvel just, decided, hey, Age of Ultron, that's not that story. Not that I care for that story, but that's not that story. But that was the popular story. That was the name, and they went with it. Civil War was a best-selling book, best-selling crap book made into a super successful bad movie. But yeah, they were just going for what was known and popular. I get it. But in some cases, this is fundamentally misrepresenting the work. So no, I do not have a problem with this person liking Supergirl because it was a simple action movie for them, and they didn't want any of the subtext or the depth of the actual story. That's not what they want from their superhero comics. That is valid. I don't have a problem with it. And again, do not bother that person.
Some of the criminal types these days, they think that they're real cowboys. Think that they can just drive around, do whatever they want to do, whenever they want to do it.
You work for a piece, right?
10,000 up front.
How do we know you're that good?
Get in.
You're crazy.
Is that him?
It wasn't him. Did you ever get caught on one of your jobs?
Hasn't happened yet.